edition of the Under-19 where Bangladesh were the champions. BPL, of course. Last year he played for Fortune Borishal, where he played under Shakib Al Hasan, and has mentioned how he was not happy with his performance, and he kept on going to the skipper and asking that if he was good enough. Backed by Khalid Mahmoud Shujon, ex-captain, of course, and director of BCB. So I think even on a personal level, the ride has helped him gain this mental strength to be how he has been playing. Still a long way to go, but it's a great start and good sign for the Tigers going forward.
None of what we're discussing here is an excuse for Ireland, and it's not an excuse culture around any Irish sporting team. It's not the way we're brought up, it's not the way that we like to play our sport. We're a small island nation in the North Atlantic, a sporting nation where probably something around 40 or 50% of our athletes end up playing a game that isn't played internationally, which is Gaelic sports, both Gaelic football and hurling and handball. So for the rugby team, which are maybe going into the World Cup later in the year as favourites, ranked number 1 in the world, winners of the Grand Slam of the Six Nations. For the cricket team, who punch well above our weight, for our boxers, our athletes, our hockey players, our soccer team. Nicely pulled in front to square. Man out there as well. McBrien keeps it to a couple. So there is no excuse. It's just the reality of the paucity of cricket that Ireland play comparatively to the other test nations. Ireland are no longer an associate side. They play much more cricket than many of the leading associates. They've got a wealth compared to them. But compared to the other test nations, it's a real challenge for Heinrich Malan and his support staff and his men. Despite there being less than 2 years between those two men we're talking about, between Ridoy and Humphreys, it's a gulf in terms of the scale of experience they've had, a 1x to a 10x, and that's why Ridoy looks so good, even though he's so early in his international career.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And what's commendable for Tawhid Ridoy, what I personally like, is the effort to keep the ball down. Right, that stroke we see, the straight pull through cow corner, through mid wicket. He's making intent to keep the ball down. His pricing is wicket, which is great for someone his age.
So nearly for the second time in the over. Does Adair have Mushfiqur? End of the 38th, 220 for 4.
Or stumps or something. Making every one of them. Andrew. Yeah, I used to.
Big last 12 overs coming up. Can Ireland fight and scrap and find a way to stay in this contest and stay in this series? Hume, the pick of the bowlers. Look at the economy rate, under 4. The difference between the seamers and the spinners has been very noticeable. Humphreys, Tector and even McBrien going at 7 and over or close to it or more, whereas Adair, Hume and Camphor, yes, they have helpful conditions today, all in and around an economy rate of 4 per over. And that graph again shows you why it's such a surprise for me, why it wasn't a one-day international debut today for Fionn Hand, and it was with Humphreys into the team. It means that in essence they have 5 spinning options. Still no George Dockrell or Paul Sterling with the ball. They definitely only have 3 seam options though, and that's the issue.
Again, I have to say, I must say, you're spot on this.
Big hit. And now a seamer goes the distance. That clears the rope by many a metre. Mushfiqur Rahim has got them dancing on their feet here in Sylhet. They love to see that. A free flow, a beautiful flow of the bat. 6 from the moment that it left it.
Mid off and cover inside the circle. The dancing shoes are on, going to the pitch of the ball and through wide-ish long off for a maximum. Launched off the runway from Mushfiqur Rahim.
Just a single this time. I think one other thing worth pointing out as well, and again, this isn't an excuse, it's not a complaint by any stretch, but the funding levels that the two newer test nations have received from the ICC in the previous right cycle, they were elevated halfway through a right cycle between 2015 and 2023. There's the 6. Oh, that's right out of the screws. Ireland and Afghanistan received nothing like the scale of funding that the other test nations received. Now that's up for discussion in the most recent board meetings. 2 was the call immediately. Good running from Mushfiqur will get them in and out. And moving into the next right cycle, the last event of this one is the 2023 World Cup coming up in India. After that, the great news is all the events are expanding. The ODI World Cup moves back to 14 teams. The T20 World Cup, most excitingly, for anyone who loves the associate or the developing game, moves to 20 teams in the USA and the West Indies. They'll be the first hosts of that in 2024. But also, because of the big money coming in with the new rights deals, leading associates as well.
Change of pace from Curtis Camphor. But again, Tauhid Ridoy keeping things simple, sticking to the basics. Timing, placement, and keeping the ball on the ground. Back for a couple. A 6 should have been given another over. 2 wickets for him in 2 overs. 1 in the 32nd, 1 in the 34th. Just checking the boundary.